Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rangers Respite. I'm Philip, and today is Wednesday, and that means that it is time finally to get to the whiskey library review that I've been promising for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now. Belmont Farm American Single Malt Whiskey. Belmont Farms Kopper Kettle American Single Malt Whiskey. Before I get into it really quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this show, if you like what I do, and you like to support me in a more concrete fashion than just liking, commenting, and subscribing, I have a TeePublic store where I've got a couple of designs up, and I have an Etsy shop where I sell these ballpoint twist pens and rollerball pens turned from barrel staves. These specifically are turned from a Quercus Robert French oak barrel stave. The barrel that stave came out of held cognac for 45 years before being used to finish a peated American single malt whiskey in the Pacific Northwest. If you know, you know. And I will have more designs on my TeePublic store coming up soon in support of the Virginia Whiskey Tournament. Now, we're going to talk about this some. So, Belmont Farm is the first craft distiller in the Commonwealth of Virginia and potentially America's first craft whiskey distillery. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that is. I believe they started in 1986, but I'm not sure. Now, some particulars about this. This is, as it says on the label, Belmont Farm Copper Kettle, handcrafted, single estate, American single malt, straight malted whiskey. At Belmont Farm Distillery, at Belmont Farm Distillery, we farm malted barley. The unique character of our malted whiskey is produced when we patiently distill in our antique copper pot still and then age using our new charred oak barrels for 3 years. The fact that it is single malt is our guarantee that we don't source our whiskey. Bottled at 86 proof, Copper Kettle single malt whiskey is made to be enjoyed straight up. Savor the flavors that only our whiskey can deliver. From the Millers. It is distilled, aged, and bottled at Belmont Farm Distillery. It is bottled at 86 proof, a nice, approachable proof. It's got a nice color for it. I think my bottle is a slightly older one because what they currently say on their website is that they age for 5 years. I may have to go looking for a newer bottling to see if it's changed much. On the nose, there is that distinct Belmont Farm pot still nose. It's definitely clear that they take pretty broad cuts, getting deep into the flavor of the tail end of the hearts, and maybe a little bit into the tails. Starchy, grainy. There's a little bit of caramel, butterscotch, some plantain, not banana, plantain. Something a little bit like vulcanized rubber. Not a whole lot, but just a hint of it. Mm. On the palate. Super starchy, plantains, caramel, sawdust. It's a little bit thin. There's a little bit of cornflake note to it. Not cornflake, but like bran flake, I guess. Very cereal forward. A little bit of like cinnamon and like oaky barrel bitter, but it's not too overpowering. It doesn't really hold down the palate. The finish is very short. It starts off with like sweet roasted plantain, starchiness, and breaks down into caramel, some like nice light cocoa notes, and something that really strikes me as being like toasted coconut. Now, it's interesting. Transparently, I rather like the Copper Kettle bonded Virginia whiskey. I think it's pretty good. And I rather liked the 10-year. I may have to come back to it at some point. I'm going to let that cool its jets for a little while because a major YouTuber just talked about it. And I'm still getting hits on my video off of that. But I don't know. Let's get to those 3 questions that I always ask and answer, starting with, do I enjoy it? I mean, it's not bad. It is not bad whiskey. It is also not great whiskey, in my personal opinion. The core of its flavor is a really interesting to me, like roasted plantain starchy note. I know that most of my friends and fellow single malt enjoyers would not enjoy it. It's like the green banana note that you get in the Stranahans turned up, which is really interesting, and I find it really interesting. But I don't really enjoy it the way I enjoy a lot of other American single malt whiskeys, if that makes sense. Do I think it's a good value? Well, it can be had for about $50, which is towards the lower end of where American single malt whiskey sits, because American single malt whiskey typically sits currently between, 50, 55 to about 85, 90, and more for like the upper market expressions. I think that this comfortably competes price-wise with the Stranahan's Yellow Label, and flavor-wise, maybe just a little bit as well. For a craft whiskey from Virginia's first craft distillery, and potentially, I'm pretty sure, America's first craft distillery, I mean, that's not bad. Now, do I recommend it? That is the question. The answer is yes and no. I want to recommend it on the basis of it being different and having a unique flavor profile and just sort of being an interesting whiskey. Like I said, I believe this to be an older bottling because it says that it's 3 years old instead of 5 years old. And I'd really like to try the 5-year before I go and say, yes, I recommend this, because you are probably more likely to run into the 5-year than the 3-year. But frankly, I think that it can only get better with time and barrels. I think that the barrel will sort of soften and sweeten that sort of starchy note. And I think that it has potential for being really great. And I would like to try different batches of it, to try different ones. I'm also really interested. I'd really love to have Chuck Miller on the Single Malt Frontier. I think that he'd be a really interesting person to have on because there are not many people around for that first wave of craft distilling, and I think that his perspective would be really unique, and I'd love to have him on the show. I may have to reach out to them to see about that. But that sort of puts me in this awkward position where I have to say non-committally, yeah, I think that it's worth trying. I can't recommend going out and hunting it, for example. But it's interesting, and I find it really interesting. So, what am I doing on Friday? Pardon the pop on my shoulder. On Friday, I'm going to be reviewing another American single malt whiskey, but this one from California. Courtesy of Nate at Hinterhouse Distilling, we have the Discovery Batch 6, which I'm really excited for. I've really enjoyed their previous batches. And we're going to have him on the show soon, on the Single Malt Frontier soon. So I'm looking forward to that. And tonight I'm going to be on the Blind Sample Showdown. I'm going to see if I can swing streaming to my channel as well as potentially the Single Malt Frontier channel, because I co-host the Single Malt Frontier and I haven't been streaming my episodes to my channel or the Single Malt Frontier channel. And maybe that's me falling down on the job, but I was, sort of consolidating streams all into one place. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've wasted enough of your time yammering on about whiskey, good, bad, ugly. I'm not calling this bad or ugly or good. It's whiskey. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, stay happy, stay geeks. Sláinte.